Welcome, everybody.
Welcome to today's episode of Workability. We are joined today by Tim Torosian and Neil Weber for our Sunday episode. We are here every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. Central. This is part of the World of Ability podcast network. And for Workability, we have Tim and Neil. Over to you guys.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you. If nobody else is going to talk, I will.
No, I can start.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, I just am amazed at the difference between ability and attitude. I think that there certainly is individuals I know who struggle with mental illness, who have hear voices, and yet they go to work every day and they're able to contribute and function. And then I know other people who unfortunately, they do the best they can, but they are able and ability, and they have ability, and something in their character, something in their challenges prevents them from working. And I don't know the difference, but that's my initial thought. Any thoughts on that, Tim? Because I think there's an old saying, your attitude determines your altitude. So I'll just start there.
Well, I guess I don't want to go too fast here. I want to just go step and step with you, Neil, because I don't think our audience deserves to, to hear your take on it and my take on it. We need to talk together.
Sure.
We need to say the same thing. So
Sure.
Let's just go into what you were saying. The attitude is like on a Monday morning, I get up and I go, I don't have a job. I feel terrible, right? And
Sure.
then maybe I go apply and I get frustrated because I show up and I don't interview well. Maybe I'm not good at interviewing, and maybe I don't have a resume. So your attitude is terrible. I mean, anybody's attitude might be awful. So yeah, I mean, you're not participating in the economy. But then there's a lot of economic indicators that don't really measure how we're doing. Right? What does the GDP mean to you and I? To any more to our economy? What does that matter? I don't think these are relevant. Gross domestic product, unemployment, inflation. I don't think those measures matter anymore. And I'm trying not to go too fast here, right? What did I say? I was just going to stick with what you said, Neil, and stay with you. So your attitude is, I want to work. I'd like a job. I'd like to be able to afford the nice things. What is that today? A cell phone? What are the nice things that we want, right? Maybe housing, like, even those people that don't have housing, they want a roof over their head. So yeah, that's so yeah, I live in a place that we have, our economic indicators are here, might be, I'm not sure really, because where I live there's a lot of jobs. We're kind of insulated from the economy. The economy doesn't matter to us here in Dane County in Madison, Wisconsin. So I'm trying to follow you, Neil. Go ahead.
Sure.
And explain more.
Well, I think I'm trying to share with you is that I know two gentlemen have talked to that, who are very similar in some ways and different in others. One gentleman is named Mike, and Mike is a part-time employee. He drives another gentleman whose name I can't recall, but this gentleman, Mike, is part-time. He is able-bodied and has been able to earn a degree through 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 disability, through disability income, and he drives a gentleman who's quadriplegic, and the quadriplegic works full time and is able to provide for himself. And yet the part-time worker on disability doesn't provide for himself. And I just don't know what makes the difference between Mike and the other gentleman, and why the quadriplegic, who is physically incapable, of moving, can provide for himself, and the physically able Mike can't provide for himself. So I would like to know the difference between the two.
Yeah. Well, and then the economy I keep saying the economy is changing.
Mm-hmm.
So, to define what makes somebody disabled today, I know I was in Milwaukee and these guys were so excited because they couldn't wait to get on disability.
Sure.
When I get on disability, my life will be great and wonderful. And I'll just paraphrase, I can smoke pot whenever I want to and get up whenever I want to. And, I can afford rent if I have a disability check. But try and find a job in Milwaukee, and I know that's where you're at. I'm not trying to smear the city of Milwaukee, but it seems like these gentlemen that I'm around are not capable of finding a job or performing a job. And I think that's the stigma that's out there. It's either they're not able, mostly people would, are like, well, they just don't want to work. Okay. But what we're doing here is we're breaking it down. What are the little pieces of, no, I don't want to work, or I can't work, or I can't get up in the morning, or I can't show up every day, or I take too many days off, or what is that all about? I think might be part of our discussion, right? Or an alternative to working is a very good alternative is to not work. But,
is that a good alternative, though? Does that breed character in a person's life?
I would say you and I grew up in nuclear families as much as we could. I mean, all right. And I think we tie all these things together, mother and father. Maybe one person was a homemaker and one person went out to work. And I think that simplifies it too much. What the real experience is out there. So let's say we focus on housing alternatives, self-sufficiency, and we focus too much on the paradigm of everybody. You need housing first, right? First you take care of your needs and then you take care of your wants. And I think the economy is shifting so fast here that at least you have some income, you're good. Let's say you have online work or working from your phone, and making some income versus no income at all. If you make some income, you can survive in America. You don't need a full-time job anymore. Okay? I think that is gone. The mother and father at home in the house, and I think there's enough housing. We need more housing. I'm going to say things are better. I'm also going to say our president knows that the economy is really good and he keeps messing it up. So he just doesn't really understand. We have a president that doesn't understand. And I hope that's not too political. But but the economic indicators don't work anymore. The president's political doing whatever he does has never worked. So how do we know? Actually, how do we know that that people are out of jobs and there's no jobs, or right? That there aren't enough jobs for the people we're talking about? How do we know that? I mean, what's the indication? Right? I try not to go off the rails here, but how do we know that we have a subject to talk about here, Neil? Go ahead.
Well, I think, what I was talking about early on before we started, went live, was before 59, I believe, during the Eisenhower administration, if you were not able to work, if you were not providing for yourself, you had to rely on family and friends. And Bill Wilson, the founder of AA, said he had to move many times in order to survive, but he felt that was the happiest time in his life. Then, I believe it was 59, laws were passed that guaranteed people access to housing, people access to help. Disability income was provided. And with that became a shift from the family providing, family and friends providing, to the state providing. Now, instead of, you having to have relationships with people to survive, you only had to have a relationship with the state. And I see that as a negative.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I agree. I still see a lot of, yeah, I agree. So the classic model is a husband and wife in their house and raising children. The husband goes to work, but also a couple generations back with your people and my people, the grandparents lived in the house with the family. If you go to Israel, that's the way it is, or the Middle East. The whole family lives together. Now, I'm trying not to go too far and too fast here, but at least then you could take care of your parents, whichever side needed to be in the household with you in their old age. Or let's say a brother, right? We're talking, let's say your brother is homeless. Well, honey, I'm sorry, but my brother has to move in. He doesn't have a job. And so we need to, he'll be the uncle to our children. So what part of the country does this work well in? I don't know. But then if so does a person that doesn't have a job and doesn't have a home, does that person not have a family? Because it's a couple generations back, like everybody has a family. So what is the dynamic there that makes people, reliant on the state?
I think the state encourages people to rely on it because I think the state wants that, because the Democratic, organization wants to encourage people to vote Democrat. So I think that's why that's why I think that happens.
Okay. Yeah, that's a cop out. It's like, I mean, I'm not criticizing what you said, but there must be some other dynamic going on that, okay, we want everybody to have fealty to the state, bow down to the state because it provides for all of our needs. Okay, that sounds more accurate. But when the Republicans say these are Democrats, I'm so that I always say to my friend who's passed away, I said, those are Republican talking points. They're always saying, oh, the Democrats are the ones that are buying votes. they're giving all this free programs to everybody. They created all these programs. But we don't even know what a Democrat or Republican is. Back then, a Republican was more like a Democrat, and a Democrat was more like a Republican. And so those names don't matter. Our economic indicators don't matter. We have a brand new discussion, which is scary and exciting at the same time, where how do we reframe the whole discussion? Because that's who we are. We're discussing this, but we're creating this. What is public policy? So I want to help everybody out there that doesn't have a job. I've got that personality to help people, but there's, what do they call it? Welfare, disability. Yeah, we don't have to move, like you said, your friend, or whatever. They had to go from city to city to find a job. They heard there was a gold out in California, or there's oil jobs in North Dakota, and they have to go out there to work, to support a family. But if you go to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, it seems like everybody's in a house and everybody gets a check. I always say everybody gets a check. But I think we're just starting this discussion, Neil, and I wish, I had a better handle on it. But I think this is just the beginning. We're trying to find this. What do you think?
I think, yeah, I agree. I think we're just starting this conversation. Let's pick it up more next week and continue on.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Okay. All right.
Bye-bye.
I'll get off. All right.
Bye-bye. Sue, do you want to take it away, Emily?
This again is a production of World of Ability Podcast Network. Welcome every week to join us on Sundays at 5:30 p.m. Central for Workability. Thank you so much to our hosts, Tim Torosian and Neil Weber. We'll see you back here next week, same time, same place.